So framework is an entire set of libraries to run the Windows, web applications, web services, database connectivity. So all these are coming under this framework. So framework is a common term which is basically used for a particular platform. So .NET framework means you whenever you are writing some .NET application, that means this framework is capable to generate all kinds of applications that you are targeting. It can be Windows, it can be mobile, it can be web. Okay, so that is what the basic understanding of the framework. So using the .NET framework, once you know the .NET framework, you can learn, you can try to generate any uh, platform architecture applications as per your requirements. So what is .NET? So .NET basically is a middle layer which you can see here, sitting in between your operating system plus hardware and your final produce. The final produce is .NET application, and actually the .NET framework is responsible for contacting with your operating system so that it will create some native code which is in the bytecode format, and that bytecode is basically dependent on your hardware. Okay, so the hardware can be some very sophisticated hardware. Sometimes a user may be connecting with a Pentium 4 machine. So in that way, some differences of hardwares will be there, some different architectures, motherboards. So all these are part of the hardware. How your application will be primarily being executed, that decision will be taken by the .NET framework, and accordingly the native code is generated. So that's why it sits between these operating system plus hardware and your final product. Okay, so this is your final binary. Once you create your application, the .NET framework is responsible to run this application on your chosen machine. So .NET framework is finally the responsible which is going to actually run your application as per your operating system platform, so that it is creating the native code. Okay, so that is how we can understand the .NET framework. Similarly, the Java is also doing the same thing. So Java runtime libraries, all these are ensuring how they are better served to the underlying operating system. So they are the middlewares. They are the middlewares between your application and your operating system. Got it? Then some .NET versions we will see right from 2002. Since its first version release, we got so many versions lined up here: 1.1, 2.0, 3.0, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 4.8, and some additional patches are being launched every time. Okay, so the first and second version, the first version is quickly updated with the second version, but .NET Framework 2 was there in industry for most of the time. You can see some 3 to 4 years it was there, and then quickly from 2010 we got to see so many different versions lined up with some additional libraries, additional packages. So all these are created as per the given dates. So 4.5 in 2012, 4.6 in 2015, then 4.8 in 2019, and these are the corresponding Visual Studio IDEs. So you can see here 2003, 2008, 2010, 12, 15, 17, 19. As yesterday I have told, whether you are downloading any of the Visual Studio, our basic code will run, because you are going to learn the fundamentals only. So all the fundamental topics as per your syllabus are supported, even if you are using the 2005 also. So there will not be any major difference. Okay, so you can easily handle the syllabus topics. But Better to download the community version, which is maybe 2015 or 17, maybe something like this, so that your laptops or desktops should be supporting with some minimum these hardware and software requirements. Okay, and accordingly, the default Windows operating systems are also given. So if you want to run the 2012, the minimum expected Windows is the minimum means it is the default one actually. Minimum maybe some XP something like that, and Windows 10 is supported from 2015. So these are the .NET versions. Then we have seen this diagram in the C# PPT also. When you see the architecture of the .NET framework, the underlying layer is the operating system through which all the .NET framework supported services are getting interacted. So operating system is here. Then on top of this, common language runtime CLR. CLR is called as brain of the .NET framework. And on top of that, base class library BCL. Then on that above ADO.NET and XML, which are basically used for database connectivity. Then again, it is supported with some components, whether you are working, whether you are developing the ASP.NET applications or some Windows Forms or some another mobile applications. So they basically come on top of this because all the applications are basically supported with the .NET, database as well as some base class libraries. So that's why they have given this kind of structure. So this blue color structure, you can see that as the namespaces are some binary some libraries which are actually interacting with your code. Okay, all the blue color components are actually based on the framework libraries. So some of the framework libraries support ADO.NET, some of the framework libraries support Windows Form. So in that way, all these are essentially segregated in this way. Then on top of this, common language specification is there, CLS, and which is supported with individual language compilers. So ultimately, if you are writing some code in Visual Studio.NET, so using this Visual Studio.NET, you can see from top to bottom, the Visual Studio.NET is aside there. And why it is like so? Because whatever you want to do, whether you want to write with the VB code or you want to directly take some good library from framework, or if you want to take advantage of the CLR, or you want to talk directly to operating system, everything is transparently being handled by the Visual Studio.NET. So only your interaction will be through this Visual Studio.NET. So that's why it is given in this bar shape, right from top layer to the bottom layer. So VB, C++, C#, JScript, J# are the default languages. Default means when you install this Visual Studio.NET, automatically all these languages are by default supported, by default. So you can create a VB project, you can create a C++ project also. So that is basically VC++. Then you can take this Visual Studio, VC Sharp, then JScript, J Sharp. So J Sharp and J Sharp is completely similar to the Java. Completely, it is almost similar to the Java. So in the initial stage, they have taken this J Sharp as a separate language, only to target on the Java developers. Okay, so that they don't learn much anything for migrating from Java platform to the .NET platform. So this is how the framework, languages and tools are actually aligned. So top color is basically for the language integration. Blue color is for the libraries, DLLs, binaries which are supported for creating your applications. Then common language runtime is actually running all these code so that it is natively connecting to this operating system in the format of MSIL instructions. Okay. Then .NET evolution. why this .NET has been created in the first place. There were before 2000 year there were COM components lying across the internet. There were so many C++ coding files actually they are. So these complex binaries or complex code, they are called as components actually. Components are basically some snippets, some small pieces of code which is targeting for a specific functionality. So these complex components are actually developed and distributed across the internet in a very large manner, but there were no it was not having any unique way of connecting to them, providing security as well as providing interoperability, providing easier integration to your different application in your different language. ओके मतलब सी प्लस प्लस में जो कॉम्प्लेक्स का कोडिंग होता था उसका कनेक्ट करने के लिए आपका जो भी लैंग्वेज है उसके थ्रू, जैसे जावा लैंग्वेज के थ्रू अगर आपको कनेक्ट करना है, इट वाज नॉट दैट मच इजियर टू डू एंड the integration, the interoperability, the flexibility, the reliability, all those were lacking. Okay, so .NET has taken this as a challenge, and all these components interoperability is supported. So COM provides a way for components to integrate. However, each component must provide the plumbing and objects cannot directly interact. Okay, so this is one COM. This is the second COM. What is the problem with this COM is it cannot expose all the methods to another complex component. This is a complex component. Okay, so that's why it is having so many limitations. Some parts of the functionality you can expose, but some parts you have to limit the expose. So in that way some complexities are there. So due to these dependencies it is not easier to connect to a different component or to a different library altogether. It is not easier to connect to different libraries altogether. So what this .NET has done is they have provided some common language runtime compatibility so that the components are actually talking to each other without object is referred directly. So some complexity is given so that there are some wrappers are actually CCW wrapper, RR wrapper, some wrappers are there. So these wrappers are actually created, and accordingly we have to work with the components. So don't worry, it is not in our syllabus. It's an advanced programming which is done by the uh, component creators nowadays. So we don't have to worry about that. But this was the first challenge that was taken into consideration for creating the .NET platform. Okay, so all the components which are lying across the internet, unusable complex components, they want to get it connected so that their functionalities can be reutilized. And how this compilation takes place in the .NET. Suppose you write some code in VB.NET, or you may be opting C#.NET, or you are opting for a different language, maybe J# or some PHP, anything which is compatible with the .NET framework. Okay, so whatever the language that you take, it is going to be compiled by that respective compiler. So VB.NET compiler is VBC, C#.NET compiler is CSC. If you are taking Java, then Java C. In that way, respective compilers will be compiling this language code into an intermediate language code. So it is something different from your regular pattern. Suppose if you are developing Java programs, directly Java C is created to create some Java executables. Okay, Java executables. So similarly, in the .NET also, C#.NET is actually compiled by the C# compiler only to an intermediate language format. It's not the actual binary. It's an intermediate language. It is one more language. We can open and see the language syntax also, but we cannot understand what it actually is having. We can see deep under the disassembler करके एक रहता है, उसको ओपन करके एग्जीक्यूट करके आपके जो IL को ओपन करके कोड को चेक कर सकते हैं आप आफ्टर कंपाइलेशन ऑफ योर C# कोड और VB.NET कोड. So this intermediate language code is what the .NET framework is, your compiler is going to be generated. But after copying that setup or something to a different machine, or if you are simply executing for the first time, then at that time, at that runtime, the standard just-in-time compiler will be kicked in to produce the native code. तो फाइनली आपके ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम के लिए, क्योंकि सेटअप तो आप चला सकते हैं, सेटअप क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, बट दिस सेटअप you can copy, you can distribute that, or otherwise you can simply install in the same machine. At the time of the first time invocation, the just-in-time compiler will be kicked in, and accordingly उस target operating system के लिए native code generate करता है. Getting? So this is the entire process of the compilation. Whatever you write for a particular language, it is ultimately getting connected, getting transformed into the intermediate language. Then just-in-time compiler will ensure so that it will produce the best code for your platform. आपके जो प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए बेस्ट कोड कौन सा है वो प्रोड्यूस करेगा. Okay. So this is how we can see the compilation and execution. You are going to provide the source code. Compilation takes place with the respective compiler. Then an assembly is generated. The assembly is nothing but the intermediate language plus metadata. What is metadata? Metadata is data about this data. So what is this IL? What are the classes? What are the definitions? All this information is metadata is keeping. So metadata is keeping all this information of IL. So both these two in combine are called as assembly. Then this assembly is going to be invoked at the time of, you can see, at the time of installation, or the first time each method is called. First time when the main method is called, the just-in-time compiler will be kicked in so that native code is getting generated. इसीलिए .NET application जब भी आप रन करेंगे, first time execute करने के लिए it will take some couple of minutes only for the first time. जैसे आप अगर वेब पेज बनाएंगे तो फर्स्ट पेज को लोड करने के लिए शायद 1 मिनट या 2 मिनट का भी टाइम लग सकता है आपके मेमोरी के ऊपर, आपके ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम के फास्टनेस के ऊपर. बट आफ्टर दैट सब्सिक्वेंट सेकेंड रिक्वेस्ट ऑनवर्ड्स इट विल बी ए वेरी फास्ट लोडिंग मैकेनिज्म, बिकॉज एक ही बार कंपाइलर काम करता है, उसके बाद से वो डायरेक्टली जो रिजल्ट ऑलरेडी कैश में रखा है उसको वो रिस्पॉन्स में कन्वर्ट करके देता है. So that's why the just-in-time compiler first time के लिए थोड़ा slow लगेगा आपको first page loading के लिए. Second page onwards it will work very fast, very fast, and that you can see when you create the web applications or Windows applications or even the mobile applications. आप कोई भी application generate करो, first time जब आप request करेंगे तो थोड़ा time लगेगा. Second time onwards इतना fast चलता है कि जैसे आपको time ही ज़्यादा milliseconds का डिफरेंस आपको समझ में आएगा, इतना फास्ट चल रहा है. Then common language runtime. What is this CLR? CLR works like a virtual machine in executing all the languages. All .NET languages must obey the rules and standards imposed by this CLR. And the CLR is nothing but the brain of this .NET framework. So it's an engine which takes care of all the formalities, all the rules, all the regulations, guidelines, memory leaks, garbage collection, everything. It will try to provide the smooth affairs between these different features of the .NET framework. So that's why it is called as brain. जैसे आपका brain आपके बॉडी को पूरा मैनेज करता है, मैनिपुलेट करता है. when you want to go, the brain has to instruct the muscles. Okay, accordingly all the organs will be moving according to the brain's instruction automatically. In that way, the CLR is capable to do whatever you want to get from that particular application. Okay. So object declaration, creation and use is basically being done by the CLR. Data types, language libraries will be ensured so that they are compatible, they are reachable, they are referred properly, and they are type safe. Everything is being checked in the CLR by the CLR. Then error and execution handling is also being raised at this level. And directly you are working from the IDE. So all the instructions are getting compiled which are coming from the IDE. So that's why developers need to tackle all the development issues only from the IDEs. You don't have to manually open the command prompt or something like that, because IDE is capable to do every kind of feature that you want to integrate for your application. Then common language runtime is a lightweight just-in-time compiler. MSIL, that means Microsoft Intermediate Language. Now it is called simply IL. It's not MSIL. So original term is MSIL, Microsoft Intermediate Language. Nowadays it is only IL. Okay. So this native machine language can be ported to numerous platforms. You can create this MSIL on Windows, then you can shift that to a Mac system. So it's a lightweight compiler, and ultimately wherever your framework is installed in that machine, the MSIL can be converted into the native code. The compiled code is transformed into a IL. Then an integer in Visual Basic .NET or an integer in C# are converted to the same system.int32. ये हमने C# में भी हमने चेक किया था, ठीक है? So either you are writing in a VB language, or you are writing in a C# language, or you are writing in a J# language. All these data types are simply mapped to a system.int32, system.int64. In that way, all these are nothing but the .NET framework types. The IL that is created is the same for all languages. So that's why language is immaterial. लैंग्वेज इज इमेटीरियल, किसी को C# अच्छा लगेगा या किसी को VB.NET अच्छा लगेगा, बट कोई एक दूसरे से बड़ा भी नहीं है, कोई एक दूसरे से छोटा भी नहीं है. दैट इज अप टू द विशेस ऑफ द प्रोग्रामर. उसको VB.NEट अच्छा लग रहा है तो उसमें कोडिंग करेगा, एंड वो आर्ग्यू कर सकता है कि VB.NEट काफी अच्छा है मेरे लिए, उसके लिए अच्छा है, बट .NEट फ्रेमवर्क के लिए नहीं है, ठीक है, बिकॉज अंडरलाइंग कैपेबिलिटी इज सेम. That IL that is created is same for all languages. So that's why there is no superior or inferior candidate in terms of the languages. Getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then the assembly is then compiled to the the assembly is the compiled .NET program. Actually, what is the assembly? Assembly is the IL plus metadata. This is what the compiled product of your .NET program. The assembly contains the IL plus information. This is already we have discussed, and the metadata contains the information about the assembly. How many classes are there? What are they? Their definitions, their data types. Everything is informed in the format of a metadata. It is very useful, because when runtime loading is required by the program, at that time it has to detect the dependencies of the libraries. So that's why it has to know beforehand what are the dependent libraries, how they are given, where they are located. All the information is available in the metadata. It's about the data about the data, that is called as metadata. And use the IL disassembler, ildasm.exe. ये कहाँ मिलेगा आपको? C:\Windows system32 Microsoft.NET, उसके अंदर bin debug ऐसा कोई एक फोल्डर रहता है, अभी मुझे एग्जैक्टली याद नहीं आ रहा, उसके अंदर आप ildasm.exe आपको दिखेगा. उसको यूज करके ये जो .NET कंपाइल्ड ये जो प्रोग्राम है, ये प्रोग्राम को आप डिसअसेंबल कर सकते हैं. डिसअसेंबल दैट मीन्स कोड को आप ओपन करके आप चेक भी कर सकते हैं कि व्हाट इज द IL कोड. So there is a disassembler that is called IL disassembler, which you can execute. वैसे वो करने की जरूरत नहीं है हमको, but you have to know these kind of tools are also provided in the when you install this Visual Studio .NET. ये कहाँ पे काम आता है? ऑब्फुस्केशन करना है. ऑब्फुस्केशन पता है क्या? Okay, we don't go to those details. That is unnecessary part of your topics. तो जब भी ऑब्फुस्केशन करेंगे, जब आपको हाइड करना है फ्रॉम एनी हैकर और एनी इंट्रोस्पेक्टर, तो वहां पे आप चेक कर सकते हैं कि व्हाट आर द एक्सपोजिंग पार्ट्स. अकॉर्डिंगली आप देख सकते हैं एंड करेक्टिव मेजर्स आप ले सकते हैं. Then intermediate language, .NET languages are not compiled to machine code. They are compiled to the intermediate language. CLR accepts the IL code and recompiles it to the JIT code. Okay, just-in-time code. So just-in-time meaning it is done as soon as a function or subroutine is called. That is main method जब भी call होता है तब the first time JIT is compile होता है और the native libraries को वो produce करता है, native code को वो produce करता है. The JIT code stays in memory for subsequent calls. In cases where there is not enough memory, it is discarded, thus making JIT process interpretive. So that's why you see .NET applications running very, very fast. Not for the first time, but for the subsequent times, they run very, very fast because they stays in the memory, and for all the subsequent calls, directly the results are getting displayed, taking out from the memory. So it's a very fastest approach to produce the responsive applications, even though you are using very low memory or low architecture kind of hardware. And in .NET, everything is an object. Traditional views of the primitive types, like this. Suppose if we have discussed this in C# also. If you know the languages completely, C++ and Java, the traditional views of primitive types are they are magical objects. In that way, they are going to treat. And the small talk Lisp, they are full-blown objects. And the .NET framework, what they have taken is they have concentratedly taken the best out of every language, and they have created everything from an object. The root object is system.object. Okay, so from that object we got the value types, we got the reference types, and some extensibility is also provided in the format of a decimal, SQL type, and some different kinds of collection types. All these have been given, but whatever you do, whatever you code in the program, everything basically you are creating nothing but an object. You are creating nothing but an object in the .NET framework. आप कुछ भी इसमें लिखो कोड, इवन एबीसी भी लिख रहा होगा तो आप एबीसी मीन्स where abc or some string abc, even that is an object in the .NET framework. In that way we can see the framework implementation, and everything is an object. So that's why most of the times you have to depend on this boxing and unboxing. This feature we have seen in the C# also. An example I will repeat here. Here the integer I is assigned with 1 to 3, and that is basically stored in the stack. ये stack में store कर रहे हैं. But as soon as I am casting that into an object, okay, I am saving that I, which is of the integer data type, to an object data type. You can see the 1 to 3 is not being copied here because it's a reference type. So as it is a reference type, it will take the address of this memory location. And whenever we want to get back that address, get back that value, by type casting exclusively in this way, अगर आप ऐसा नहीं करेंगे तो कंपाइलर एरर देगा .NET फ्रेमवर्क में, इवन दो इट इज एन इंटीजर. ये देखो यहाँ पे ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर वो के अंदर 1 2 3 ही है, बट स्टिल यू कैन नॉट डायरेक्टली असाइन जे एज ओ. जे इज इक्वल टू वो आप नहीं कर सकते बिकॉज जे इज अ स्टैक टाइप एंड ओ इज एन ऑब्जेक्ट. सो दैट्स वाई आपको उसको टाइप कास्ट करना ही पड़ेगा. देन ओनली इट इज गोइंग टू बी सेव्ड एज 1 2 3 इन द stack. So this is the VB example. ये जो आपको लेफ्ट साइड में जो दिख रहा है ये VB का एग्जाम्पल है, एंड राइट साइड में जो दिख रहा है वो C# का एग्जाम्पल है. So the language is immaterial. आप .NET फ्रेमवर्क में कोई भी लैंग्वेज में क्रिएट करो, फ्रेमवर्क के लिए कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, बट दैट इज अप टू योर चॉइस. आपको C# में कोडिंग करना है या तो VB.NET में कोडिंग करना है. So both the examples are given here. This is VB code and right side is the C# code. And everything is an object in the .NET framework. It offers robust and secure executive environment. Native code compilation is there, MSIL, note interpreter, install time or runtime IL to the native compilation. Then code correctness and type safety. It can be verified to guarantee type safety. टाइप सेफ्टी को बार बार वो इंश्योर करता है. आप एक टाइप को, जैसे यहाँ पे एग्जांपल में टाइप को हमने डिफाइन किया है, वो बार बार अपने को टाइप सेफ्टी कंप्लाई करके ही प्रोग्राम लिखना पड़ेगा. सपोज यू रिमूव दिस सी इंट, यहाँ पे आप इंट को रिमूव करो, कंपाइलर वार्निंग देगा या एरर देगा. तो दैट्स हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू impose some restrictions and rules on the programmers. वो करने ही नहीं देगा, कंपाइल ही नहीं करने देगा. तो नो अनसेफ कास्ट. अगर आप अनसेफ कास्टिंग कर रहे होंगे, टाइप कास्टिंग कर रहे होंगे तो वो एरर देगा. अनइनिशियलाइज्ड वेरिएबल्स दे रहे होंगे तो एटलीस्ट वार्निंग तो देगा. नो आउट ऑफ बाउंड्स एरे इंडेक्सिंग, ये तो अभी कॉमन है जावा सभी लैंग्वेजेस में. नो आउट ऑफ बाउंड एरे का एक एरर आता है, उनको कॉमनली उनको कंट्रोल करने के लिए एडवांस लैंग्वेजेस ऑलरेडी सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. एविडेंस बेस्ड सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी ग्रांट्स परमिशन बेस्ड ऑन एविडेंस. सिग्नेचर्स, डिजिटल सिग्नेचर्स प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं. ओरिजिन बेस्ड पॉलिसीज आप डिफाइन कर सकते हैं. दैट मीन्स आप डिफाइन कर सकते हैं कि एक एग्जीक्यूटेबल लॉन्च करने के बाद ये पर्टिकुलर मशीन में ही चलेगा. सपोज आपके कंपनी में 4 सेक्शंस है, आपने एक सेटअप चलाया है, वो सेटअप उस कंपनी का HR डिपार्टमेंट में ही चलना चाहिए, फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट में नहीं चलना चाहिए. या फाइनेंस मॉड्यूल है तो फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट में ही चलना चाहिए, मार्केटिंग के मॉड्यूल में, मार्केटिंग के कंप्यूटर्स पर नहीं चलना चाहिए. ऐसा भी आप पॉलिसीज डिफाइन कर सकते हैं. तो इन दैट वे द सिक्योरिटी, हाई लेवल ऑफ सिक्योरिटी, इवन द इंटरनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल यूजेस आल्सो यू कैन ऑफर बेटर सिक्योरिटी. एक ही कंपनी है तो वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर है चलेगा, ऐसा भी नहीं. काफी सिक्योर कर सकते हैं आप एप्लीकेशंस को विथ वेरी लो लेवल ऑफ कोडिंग. एक दो एट्रीब्यूट्स डिफाइन करके आप कंप्लीट कर सकते हो. देन रोबस्ट एनवायरनमेंट, ऑटोमेटिक लाइफ टाइम मैनेजमेंट. GC is there as in the case of the Java also. Garbage is collected frequently. Exception handling is there. Type safety is ensured. Then secure environment is provided. Security is inbuilt. Security is inbuilt in the .NET framework application. जब आप कोडिंग करेंगे, जब आप रन करेंगे तो सिक्योरिटी ऑटोमेटिकली 50% आप प्रोवाइड कर ही रहे हो when you compare with the other platforms. So it is an integrated affair. Security is simply an internal affair. Okay. So code access security enforcement. Security based on the identity of the code, administratively configurable via policy. जैसे मैंने अभी बताया है कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के मल्टीपल डिपार्टमेंट्स में कौन सी डिपार्टमेंट में कोड एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हैं, कौन सी डिपार्टमेंट में कोड एग्जीक्यूट ही नहीं होगा. इतना रेस्ट्रिक्शंस भी कोड एक्सेस सिक्योरिटी बोलते हैं उसको. इतना रेस्ट्रिक्शंस भी आप प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं. कैश बोलते हैं, कोड एक्सेस सिक्योरिटी कैश एनवायरनमेंट्स आप प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं इजीली. ASP.NET integrated authentication of the user. We will come to know when this ASP.NET is there. Windows passport form based. At that time we will deal with this. Then cryptography library with XML, digital signature support. All these are integrated for providing the better security.